Interracial relations and contacts. Interracial relations and contacts involve a policy upon which we are quite sharply divided. There are those who approve and cultivate these relations and contacts, and there are those who stand for limiting them to the smallest possible scope. Those of the sound group, which I estimate is the larger of the two, feel and express distrust of all white people and look with suspicion even upon friendly gestures from them. They frequently cast suspicion together with criticism at those of the race who do have contacts with the whites. An analysis of these feelings would most likely reveal them as a defense attitude. But whatever its psychology may be, the attitude exists, and good reasons back of it are easy to find. Nevertheless, the attitude should be abandoned. For one thing, it rests in large part upon a fallacy, namely, that there are no white people genuinely interested in our highest welfare. Plain facts of our history in this country and our current knowledge refute that proposition. For another thing, this attitude runs counter to the course we must follow to reach our chief objective. Prejudice versus prejudice will not carry us very far along the way. We should establish and cultivate friendly interracial relations whenever we can do so without loss of self-respect. I do not put this on the grounds of brotherly love or any of the humanitarian shibboleth. I put it squarely on the grounds of necessity and common sense. Here we are caught in a trap of circumstances, a minority in the midst of a majority numbering 110 million. We have got to escape from the trap, and escape depends largely on our ability to command and win the fair will, at least, and the good will, if possible, of that great majority. The establishment and maintenance of friendly interracial intercourse cannot be brought about without overcoming difficulties. The accomplishment at once demands of both sides considerable cosmopolitanism of spirit and intellect. It is easy to live within the strict limits of one's own group who knows its language of words and of ideas. One knows all the questions that will come up and the answers. One does not have to extend himself. Social and intellectual intercourse on even the outskirts of cosmopolitanism is a more strenuous matter, and that is one of the reasons why most human beings prefer parochialism. But time and time again, the difficulties have been overcome, and Negro Americans have been surprised to find how many white people it has been pleasant and beneficial to know, and white people have been perhaps more surprised to find how many Negro Americans it has been pleasant and beneficial to know. Out of these relations have come numerous fine and lasting friendships, an effect on the whole race situation that is far-reaching, though it might not be entirely manifest. Many a Negro American is held back from such relationships because he feels that they put him in the position of seeking social equality. We should not be frightened by that bogey. The term itself has been as distorted that it makes no sense. In various states of this union, it means anything from intermarriage to breathing the same air in the same public park. No self-respecting Negro American should admit, even tacitly, that he is unfit to be associated with by fellow humans. Each one can stand manfully on the ground that there should be nothing in law or opinion to prevent persons whose tastes and interests make them agreeable companions from associating together, if they mutually desire to do so. This matter is naturally more complex in the South than in other sections. Their interracial intercourse, when it does take place, is more often than not a one-sided arrangement. In such instances, the whites come into our midst, but no matter how sincerely they desire the closer relationships, they fear to offend public sentiment by having us go into their midst. Few there are who dare defy that sentiment. The situation of those who genuinely wish to defy it and dare not is near to pathetic. The cultivation of social and intellectual intercourse between members of the two races in the South cannot progress very far until the whites are as free as to act as we are. I repeat that we should cultivate these relationships north and south whenever we can do so without loss of self-respect. We should be willing to take at least as many steps forward as the whites will take, which does not mean that when a white person takes a single step forward, we are to run a mile. If a white person takes that one step forward, let us not rail at him for not taking two or a dozen steps or not coming all the way, but let us give him due credit for the one step taken. And giving credit for that one step, however, we need not to raise hallelujahs and try to make him feel that he has solved the race problem and brought in the millennium. And just that has been done more than once. Action of the sort is clownish, shaming. Neither have obsequiousness and grinning any place. We could well take as example the engaging and courteous but dignified manner for which native African chiefs are famed in their dealings with the whites. Treat white people just like humans. The sensible ones will appreciate greatly. By the cultivation of these relations, I do not mean a fostering of the old sentimental and patronizing regard for Negroes. We have reached the stage where that attitude is offensive. Furthermore, that attitude does not reach very far. I have frequently noted that with many white uplifters, the Negro is all right until he is uplifted. The result we wish to gain from this relation is mutual respect and regard. The cultivation of social and intellectual intercourse is an important part of the policy of commanding and winning in the fair will and good will of the great white majority, but I do not wish to overemphasize its importance, for it is, after all, the smaller section of the field of interracial relations and contacts. Our major and more difficult problems in the field of interracial relations at present does not lie with the white man who disdains us and keeps us out of his club, but with the white man who fears us and keeps us out of his labor union. This man who fears that we may take his job and fears that we may prove as capable in doing it as he is, and fears, too, that maybe he is not so superior as he assumes to be. We must also command and win his fair will at least, and his good will if possible, but we must constantly bear in mind that in commanding and winning the fair will and good will of all white Americans, conciliation is not the sole technique. There are times when firm opposition is the only effective means. Leadership. Leadership can be made a very provocative topic. Lambasting our leaders is quite a popular pastime. Without question, since leaders are human, there is a great deal wrong with them, just as there is with followers, and, as every group of people has, we have the right and privilege of soundly and openly criticizing the words and action of those who stand as leaders. It must, however, be admitted that the bulk of the criticism constantly heard comes from nitwits who have a mania for writing communication to newspapers. This brand of criticism is neither sound nor sensible. The only apology for it is that frequently it is leveled at those of that considerable number who are not leaders in any recognizable sense of the term. The term leader has been greatly stretched, but real leaders are not and never were numerous. Leaders of the first magnitude are among the rarest of humans. God makes one and only every so many centuries. We, as every other group, have on hand a large supply of self-set-up leaders, but real leadership is not distinction to be assumed.